Phillipsburg, New Jersey, Town Council Meeting. Special meeting, July 27th, 2020. What this meeting is about is the Phillipsburg Town Council will consider for introduction and adoption at first reading a referendum ordinance to place on the ballot at the next general election the question of whether the Phillipsburg Free Public Library should be dissolved, and provision made for the levying and collecting of the special tax assessed to support the county library system, thereby entitling the residents of Phillipsburg to utilize the county library system and service in the same manner as other municipalities in the county which are part of the county library system utilize said services. Formal action may be taken. Translating this referendum ordinance into plain English. If the referendum passes, the local Phillipsburg Library will be closed, and Phillipsburg taxpayer money will go to support county libraries miles away from Phillipsburg. A yes vote at this meeting is the first official step to potentially closing the local library in Phillipsburg, the Phillipsburg Free Public Library. If a council member truly believes that we should keep the local library open in Phillipsburg, then they should vote no to the proposed ordinance. Many residents spoke at the town council meeting. Every resident who spoke was in favor of the local library in Phillipsburg remaining open and not joining the county library system. In spite of overwhelming support by the speakers for the local library in Phillipsburg, all 5 of the town council members voted to move the referendum ordinance, which would potentially kill the local Phillipsburg Library, forward. I urge you to remember these names. These are the individuals that have either encouraged or voted to take the first step towards potentially closing the local library in the town of Phillipsburg. Mayor Tersigni strongly encouraged the referendum. Council President Randy Piazza Jr. voted. Council Vice President Frank McVey voted. Councilman Robert Fulper voted. Councilwoman Danielle DeGerolamo voted. Councilman Harry Wyant voted. All voted for the referendum to take place that will potentially close the local library in Phillipsburg. The following is an unedited video of the special town council meeting.
So we're going to start off with roll call here, Vicki. Oh, hold on.
Oh, there we go. Council President Piazza.
Here.
Council Vice President McVey.
Give him a second.
He's muted.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
outside.
No, we're good. Thank you, Vicki, for your patience. Here.
Councilwoman DeGerolamo.
Here.
Councilman Fulper.
Here.
Councilman Wyant.
Here.
And we have Attorney Wenner is here. We have the mayor. We have Deb Messling from the library as well.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
We good, Vicki?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to open up this meeting with public comment on agenda items only. I know that the mayor has something to say with that, so I'll allow him to speak first.
Can you hear me, Council President?
I can, sir.
All right. Last Tuesday, I met with Freeholder Director Rick Gardner and Alex Zorzak, who is the business administrator for the County of Warren. It was a very peaceful, accommodating type of meeting. But the facts are, the issue is this thing has been kicked down the road for the last couple of years, 2 years at least. The reality has set in that they sent us a bill for $375,000 that we owe the county. Plus, we lose the federation money of $125,000 that helps pay the director, the library director, with benefits, salaries, et cetera, et cetera. So we're basically $500,000 in the hole before we even start. I think the town budgeted $670,000. So basically, it could cost up to $1,300,000 to run the library this year. We've actually raised the tax rate 10 cents and triple the library tax rate. It's time to do something. They have 16 employees there. We're 17, they're down to 16. And the agreement stated that such and such amount had to go through, used for different purposes, and the agreement basically was violated. I'm told 83% of the wages and salaries is going toward, the budgeted money is going through salaries. It's not going to be up to the mayor and the council. It's going to be up to the people to decide what needs to be done to a town where tough cuts were made this year. And we are the 16th poorest town in the state of New Jersey. There wasn't any room to compromise in the budget hearings with this type of situation we're going through. And I'm asking the people, if this is what the voters of Phillipsburg want, your taxes are going to go up. This non-binding referendum, this administration is facing the reality and coming forward and straight with the people what's going on with this type of situation. We actually have a bonded roof that was done haphazardly, and being in that business for 31 years, there's still problems with that situation also with the library, which costs interest expense over X amount of years and the time to get it fixed. We need to work together and figure out the plan. So this is why we are here today, to discuss the situation, what I am bringing forward to you as your mayor, and being transparent. And this is exactly the facts. And one other thing I want you to bring to your attention, that the $375,000 that we do owe the county, and I'm not saying yes or no, but if we did join the library system, we would be relieved of that $375,000 obligation. We would be waived from that. And if we did choose to stay with the library system, there is a 3-year payment plan to pay that debt off. So we have no more funding from the county. We have 16 employees. Something needs to be done, and we're going to leave it up to the voters of Phillipsburg to decide at a non-binding referendum, so what can be discussed today. I think I've covered basically the nuts and bolts of it all. If there's anything I missed, one of the council members can fill me in, but I believe that I covered most of the issues with the library system. And this administration has worked fairly in the budget process with the library during the crisis that we went through to cut hundreds of thousands of dollars off the budget to keep your taxes flat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Wenner, I believe you wanted to.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Just to clarify, at the end there, the mayor said it would be a non-binding referendum. It is binding. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we will move on to the rest of the public comment on agenda items. I believe Mr. Minor has his hand raised.
I'm Joe Minor. I live at 392 South Main Street.
Hello, Mr. Minor.
The local library, which, if I understand it, would no longer exist, and we would then have to drive somewhere or take a bus somewhere, is critical to a low-income town like ours. Our children who are using the library, and most of them because they don't have the stuff that many of us have, are in need of this library. If you want to cut something, don't ever rebuild the swimming pool. That'll cover the cost. Without a town swimming pool, we could do it. And the kids will learn to swim in the Delaware River, just like I did when I lived in Phillipsburg as a kid. There are other alternatives to closing this essential library. As far as increasing the taxes, we must increase the taxes for one thing to fix our sewer system, our sanitary sewer system. And the sooner people wake up to that, the better too. This needs to be kept even at a significant increase to the taxpayers. We have to look out for the people who live here. I'm very strong against, I am very for keeping the library at the additional expense. That's sufficient. I wish it had been publicly posted. It's like on the outside of the council meeting, council building. And I really wish I didn't have to need a friend who told me about this meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon rather than a normally scheduled time. Both of these things irk me a little bit. And I have spoken with a touch of anger in my voice over the lack of posting. But the point I'm trying to make is the necessity of this library for this town. And I realize that if you make it a public referendum, a binding public referendum, yeah, you're getting yourself off the hook. But I wish you'd stay on the hook, not put it to the public, and keep the library open. Sometimes good things take strong people to stand up to the prices of things today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minor. I'd just like to clarify a few things. This is the first reading of 2 for this ordinance. So we were pushed with a deadline to read this on this date. It had to be done today. So there will be a second reading that people can also comment on. And that should be at a regularly scheduled meeting. So it's not like this is once and done. There will be a second reading of this ordinance. I just want to clarify that. And the reason why it was posted for this day, this was the last possible moment we could wait to do this.
I did figure all that out.
Yeah. So I do apologize. It wasn't the best case scenario, but it was the only scenario.
You should have posted it in a public place.
It was posted in the
It doesn't count in.
There you go.
Council President. Council President.
Yeah, the mayor had his hand raised next again.
Just one quick thing I forgot to say to answer Mr. Minor's question.
Lee, hold on. Lee, I accidentally unchecked your hand. Could you put it back up so I can keep it in the queue, please? I'm sorry about that. All right. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing to answer Mr. Minor's question. I forgot to bring up. I meant binding. It's up to the voters to decide. Number two. Number three, that the county said they would provide some type of transportation for people, not all, but they would be willing to work with the town to do that. I forgot to bring that up. So there would be some type of transportation provided. That's what I was told. So that's all I have to say, but I wanted to clarify that with Mr. Minor. Thank you, Council President, for allowing me to speak again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, I believe Lee had his hand up. I think he was next, and I did uncheck his.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mr. Clark, yes, go ahead, sir. Name and address.
Excellent, thank you. Lee Clark, 341 Heckman Street. So hello, thank you for hearing my testimony today. I'll keep my remarks short. I'm using my lunch break to attend this meeting. I understand that this could possibly be the latest day that we could have this meeting. However, 2 o'clock in the afternoon is a terrible time. This could have been held much later after work for more people to attend. So I'll keep this short. My statement is simple and clear. We should not be considering a referendum to shut down the Phillipsburg Free Public Library. The library serves as a critical pillar in our community and has done so for years. Our youth and seniors alike depend on the services and the convenience of the location, given that the county library by no means is easily accessible. I thank the mayor for his comment, given that the county said that they are looking into possibly providing transportation. However, there's no more convenient location than just being able to walk to your public library. I myself, like so many other residents, have benefited from the excellent services of our librarians and the resources offered. Quite frankly, I have no idea why this is such a huge priority right now, given that during heavy rainfalls, half of our town is ravaged by stormwater and is underwater by sewage overflow, while the other half is smothered underneath piles of trash and illegal dumpings. As a former councilman and colleague, this is my recommendation to the council. Focus on the systematic problems of our town to instill long-term growth, rather than seeking to shut down our town's intellectual center for knowledge. If you claim there's no money to do this, what I say, find it. As our representatives, you support us. You represent our town's interests, not our county's interests. Whether it's a Democrat or a Republican sitting in those seats, you must do your job. This is not political. This is not partisan. This is a benefit to the entire town. So do not make any excuses. Just do your job. Thank you so much for the time to talk, and thank you for doing your work. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Lee. Sorry for excusing myself. I had to plug in my laptop and its battery is running low. There we go. I do apologize for that. Okay. Next we have Mr. Morriset. Hold on, Mr. Morriset.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. 2 comments relative to what the mayor said was, in the past, Jason Saranowski is on record as saying the freeholders would not be requesting the $300-some thousand or the materials in lieu of. I'm shocked to hear that the freeholders and the county is coming back requesting the $300,000. Number 2, in regards to something the mayor said, transportation, seriously? A bus that will pick you up and drive you 3+ miles to a library that you can't walk to is no way the same as the convenience of walking to a local library. Now for my statement. There is no way the county library would provide the same value to the town that the town residents receive from the local Phillipsburg Free Public Library. Having the library embedded in Phillipsburg, which happens to be the largest municipality in Northwest New Jersey, provides the residents of Phillipsburg a library that is in walking distance for at least thousands of residents. With the library being miles away and inaccessible, there is little value for the residents since the ability to use it will be drastically reduced. If you support on council and Mr. Mayor, if you really support the Phillipsburg Free Public Library, you will vote no to this referendum. Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morissette. Appreciate your comments. Okay, we have Joanna Murphy. Joanna, you're unmuted now.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Joanna Murphy. My address is 79 Brunswick Avenue, Bloomsbury, New Jersey. Bloomsbury happens to be in Hunterdon County, in which I have a slew of libraries to attend in my county. However, I have chosen as a resident of Bloomsbury to pay a yearly fee to be a member of the Phillipsburg Library. I have chosen to do that because of the value and the wealth of programs and services that the Phillipsburg Library provides. In addition, I have 3 children who attend Phillipsburg High School, which does have a nice library, which is closed after school. My children have the ability to walk from Phillipsburg High School to the library to do whatever is needed to do after school until a time when I can pick them up after working. And I believe the library closes at about 8 or 9 p.m. When I have gone to pick up my children at the Phillipsburg Library with my car, there are students at the library until 8 or 9 o'clock who are using the library because not every student has internet access in Phillipsburg. Not every student has a personal computer in Phillipsburg. Furthermore, I have witnessed these same students walking home from the library to their homes because they don't have transportation and possibly their parents or guardians do not have transportation to bring them home. They will be willing to walk in the dark at 9 o'clock in the winter home in order to use this library. If you are telling me that Phillipsburg is the 16th poorest town in the state, this is a form of discrimination against the residents of Phillipsburg, who again may not have transportation, may not have internet, and may not have computers. I would, as the former speaker had said about transportation being provided, I don't think that would be free to Phillipsburg or to the county. So you may want to consider the cost of that also. And how would people access a schedule or want to be forced to be on a schedule? The Phillipsburg Library, part of their mission is to serve all residents, providing a safe and welcoming place for all residents of the town. It provides a sense of community, human interaction, love of reading, promotes lifelong love of reading, thoughtfulness and civility, which is sorely needed at this time in our nation's history. So I would really encourage everybody on the council in the town of Phillipsburg to look on the Phillipsburg Library website to reference all of the services provided, some of which are reference databases, public computer use, web links, government documents, job hunting links, health resources, young adult services, children's services, digital services, et cetera, et cetera. You can go into each of those categories and find additional services. My $60 provides me with a daily access free to the New York Times so that residents can be informed about what is going on in the world. Book clubs, at least 3 book clubs, children's reading clubs, etc.
Council President, I have to admit that we are at a 3-minute time limit.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Ms. Murphy. I do appreciate that. I was just one of the busing. I know it's not ideal for some, but I was in contact with freeholders this morning about that. I was told it is going to be included in the cost of joining the county. That's all I can say is what they told me. You may have a point. And I think they were looking into doing a trial run of that. So we'll look forward to that and see what happens there. But that is what I was told. So, Mr. Minor back again. Hold on, Joe. Let me unmute you. Joe, did I miss something on you before? Oh, you're not unmuted. Give me a second.
Mute. There I go.
There you go.
The mayor's comment on the transportation. If he will make that an integral part of the referendum, such as the county will provide a continuous bus that goes through Phillipsburg and to and from the library continuously, so that the people that want to use it actually can get to use it in a timely manner. This would be very appreciated. I still would rather not to have it, but
yeah, Council Wenner has something to add. Joe,
beg pardon.
Rich.
Yes, thank you, Council President. The referendum question is just that. That's the question. So we don't add language to it. We don't put any interpretive statement in there other than the interpretive statement that is dictated to be in there by law. So what's before the council for consideration and adoption on first reading and possibly full and final adoption on second reading is the ordinance language that's in front of you, period.
Was that clear, Joe?
Yeah, but I happen to disagree that a binding referendum can include the specifics. He's a lawyer, I'm not, but I think he's wrong on that point. It's binding.
Okay. Council Vice President?
Yes, thank you. And my apologies to everyone hearing any background noise because I am out of town. I do appreciate it. I have to say to Mr. Minor's point, I am working closely as the transportation representative for the town of Phillipsburg. I have worked closely through Council President and our freeholder, James Kern, to create a transportation loop that would pick up at right now it's 3, possibly 4, but at 3 spots we have identified throughout town to make the ease up to the county library for our citizens in areas of which they would be walking normally up to the library. It would be actually a shorter walk to the points of where they have to go and then arrive. This meeting is not about that. To Rich, to Councilor Wenner's point, is this is nothing more than a referendum question, but because we are on this call and because of Mr. Minor, I do like you a lot, as you know, I will at least give you the opportunity to understand that we are working very hard to make this the best ease of passage up to this current situation, if it was to go that way.
Okay, thank you, Vice President. Next, we have Carol. Give me 1 second to unmute you, please.
Hello, this is Carol Talent. I live at 75 Carpentersville Road in Phillipsburg.
Okay.
And I think it has been proven time and time again how popular our library is for the entire community. When the county library was suggested to be moved to its present location, we had standing room only crowds supporting Phillipsburg Free Public Library. Yet the county decided to move its location to where it is now. I find it really questionable that now we are talking about closing our library. I find it incredibly offensive, and I feel like there's something I would be remiss in not saying, that I feel like this has been in the works for it to be coming up right now. Our librarians are superior people who will go above and beyond to help anyone in any way they can. The children's programs are packed, and I think that this is a real shady deal that's coming through. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Next, we have Pat.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm Pat Tumulty. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Library Association. I am based out of Trenton. And I've spoken at many of these types of meetings over the years in my job, but I want you to know that, in full disclosure, I'm a Phillipsburg girl. I grew up in Phillipsburg. My great-great-grandparents settled in Phillipsburg in 1850 before the town was incorporated, and we have had people who have lived in the town continuously till my mother died 4 years ago. I'm a graduate of Phillipsburg Catholic High School and Lafayette College. So let me know that I care deeply about Phillipsburg, and I care deeply about libraries. So I feel that I can kind of weigh in on this situation. The position of the New Jersey Library Association is, though, that this is a local decision. This is tax dollars. They're your tax dollars. We strongly believe in tax-supported institutions, but we believe that the residents need to know what their tax dollars are paying for and how much they will get for their tax dollars. So I know that when this decision's made, if it were to close the library, it's a very serious decision, and one that really cannot be undone. It seems to me that in just hearing about this, that there are many unanswered questions that need to be discussed. How much will the taxpayers be made to support the municipal library compared to the county library system? The county library system will still have a dedicated tax line on your resident's tax bill. So which is more? How much is it cost? What are they getting for those dollars? How best can the Phillipsburg Library provide library services to their residents if you severely cut the library? Will Warren County, and this is kind of the questions that we've had, will Warren County still operate the building in Phillipsburg? It seems the answer is no, although in some of our county library situations, when you join a county library, there is the operation, it becomes a branch of the county library. It's done differently throughout the state, but that has been done. That is not the model here in Warren County, but that has been done differently throughout the state. And I'm certainly glad that people are bringing up transportation, because as a child who walked down from Chambers Street to get her first library card from the Phillipsburg Library on South Main Street, I would never be able to do that now. So transportation is a key issue, particularly with children and senior citizens. There are lots of questions that I just want you to think about, lots of options, because I've been involved in this in a long time. Rather than joining the county library system, would you ask the residents through referendum if they would pay for a higher library rate for their own taxes? There has been legislation that was passed 2 years ago that allowed people to vote to have higher than the third of a mil minimum. It's only been tried twice so far in the state. It was unsuccessful at the Vineland Public Library in Cumberland County, and it was successful at the Mahwah Public Library in Bergen County. These are different situations because they do not have the same kind of county library system that you have in Warren County. But I'm just bringing out there is other pieces of legislation. So I think that some of the questions I'm hearing, I think although the time is short, perhaps these questions should have been discussed before you put the question on the ballot. Particularly, how much is this going to cost the residents of your community, so they can have a comparative kind of situation. Again, maybe they'll get additional services from the county library, but they need to know that, know what they are paying for by their tax dollars, and you need to give them that information. So again, on behalf of the New Jersey Library Association, we take no position on what kind of, if you have a municipal library or a county library. But we do want you to make sure that you give your residents all the information they need to know when they're voting on a referendum. What kind of library they have, what kind of services, and how will they receive them? So I want to thank you for your consideration. I know this is a difficult decision, but I think please understand, and I think you do, that your local people are passionate about their libraries, because their libraries are integral to the quality of life they receive from a community. So as a former Peabody girl, I say good luck, and I would happy to assist you in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pat. I have Bob Merlo on. I just wanted to see, he worked up a few scenarios as far as costs. Bob, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Do you mind outlining a few of those simply, if you could? Do you have those in front of you? I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No, if you give me a minute, let me try and find them.
That's what you need to have. People need to know what.
Actually, I could probably cover everything she asked. I had it.
Since Bob ran it down, I'd like for him to go on the record, if that's okay. He did talk to the county CFO this morning, I believe.
Yeah, I did. He just confirmed they don't have the figures yet for 2020 because they don't have the, I guess the county tax administrator hasn't finalized everything yet. At least that's what he said. But basically what I did is just using the figures that we used for 2020. And if we were to remove the $645,000 appropriation and then substitute the town's minimum library requirement with what the county levy would be, the town tax rate would be $1.48, or the overall rate would be $4.01. So it would actually decrease about 9 cents in the municipal rate and probably about 3 or 4 cents overall. And if we were to, if they were to reject the referendum and pay back, and it's roughly like $375,000, so roughly $125,000 a year. And keeping the library appropriation as is at 645, the town's rate would be basically about $1.60 or $4.07. So roughly about a 3 or 4 cent rate tax increase.
Did you get that, Pat?
I got that, but again, I think the public needs to understand that. The public needs to make those decisions by themselves about what that means. 3 or 4 cents on their tax rate to the future of their children may be what they're willing to pay. That is what the discussion needs to be. They need to understand those numbers. They need to understand what they're losing. They need to also, if the county says they can give them more services. This is the quality of understanding what you're doing for your residents right now. 3 or 4 cents per, on $100,000, that may not mean that much to people for their long-term quality of life of their community. So again, I urge you to have these full discussions with your public, because without knowing that, they do not know what they're giving up, and they do not know what they're getting. And again, that is my goal, is to make sure that people understand, because once you make this decision, it's a long-term decision, and that they need to understand. And as I said, there is a law that allows them to vote for a higher tax rate. Maybe they would do that. Maybe they wouldn't do it this November, but maybe they would next November. I mean, there are things that are going around out there. And so the overall discussion of this needs to be out there so people do understand what they're voting about and what they may gain or lose by this proposition. So I thank you for that, because it is a very serious decision, but it is the local taxpayers' decision. I totally understand that, but they need to know what they are voting on and what they would gain or what they would lose by each proposal, okay? And I look forward to seeing those numbers. You know, my association will look forward to seeing those numbers so that we can make sure that we track them and you know, qualify them. And I know it's a very difficult time because tax rates are going back. You know, we all know how difficult it's been during the pandemic, but this is a very difficult thing. And that's why I urge you to get this a full, as you said, this is not your only discussion. So prior perhaps to your final discussion, the community can actually have some actual numbers that they can look at. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you very much, Pat. I appreciate your comments. We have Nancy. I know you've been waiting a little while. Sorry about the wait, Nancy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Nancy.
Okay, Nancy Zgoda, 211 Riverview Road. First of all, I know people keep saying, oh, there's 16 librarians. First of all, you're not giving librarians enough credit, because every instance I've had there, they hustle their butts. They're helping so many people, and they can multitask like no others. I'm a school teacher, and I have gotten nothing but support from everyone at that building. We use them not just as a resource, but we also use them as field trips from some of our students throughout the day. I believe your decision sends a message to people in town that libraries aren't important. Instead of taking the stance that it's something important, we should fight for it to keep it in town. We're just trying to like save a buck. But by saving a buck, you know, at what cost? Who's going to be suffering? It's hard, as a teacher, I know it's hard enough to keep some students interested in education, to keep them engaged. When our students go there, it gets the students off the computers and into the bookshelves. It makes it more meaningful, more engaging. There's like a differentiation of instruction. Kids need that. The librarians there go out of their way to make it the most beneficial for these kids. Adding a bus ride to go to the library is going to be a deterrent. I'll tell you right now. I know kids aren't going to go the extra effort to take another bus ride to another township when if they could just walk across town, grab something to eat and drink on the way with their friends. It is more fun, more social. And also, there's so many seniors here in town that rely on it. They're not going to, like bad weather, cold days, they're not going to go take a bus ride across town. Not just students, but I also see people going there getting job applications filled out, getting assistance. They're working on their resumes. Right now, there's a whole lot of people out of work, and it's definitely a needed service right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate your comments. Josh.
Hi there. I'm Josh Winisco. I live at 185 Lewis Street here in town. I don't have any specialized knowledge, and I can't speak as eloquently as the other folks who've spoken about financial or library issues, but I do have a strong connection to the library, so I'd just like to speak a little about what it means to me. My family's from Phillipsburg. My grandparents moved here in the 1950s. My father grew up here, but I didn't make it my home until 2005. Consequently, I don't have direct childhood memories of the library. I didn't walk there from my home. I didn't look at the dinosaurs in the lobby. My daughter grew up at the library, and I experienced it vicariously through her, but it's not the same thing. As an adult, I go there because it's a magnificent resource for my daughter. I go there for myself because it's a magnificent resource for adults, but mostly because I love libraries, I love them as a concept, and I love what they provide the community. The county library outside of town is a beautiful building. It's clean, it's modern, it's fancy. It has so many bells and whistles, but ultimately it's lacking the essential functions of a public library. All those computers and fancy resources don't mean a thing if you can't get to them. 2,000 kids can walk to the Phillipsburg Free Public Library. None of them can walk to the county library. For kids or anyone without a car, it might as well be on the moon. The question is, who will benefit from this resolution? It's certainly not the people of Phillipsburg.
Is that all, Josh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, Josh. Mr. Morissette.
Hello, this is Sandra Morissette, 5 Fairview Heights in Phillipsburg. Like others, I find it peculiar that Town Council and the county has decided to raise this issue now after we were told in 2 separate freeholder meetings that they would not be collecting that $300,000. I also agree with the comment someone made that this meeting is far more than a referendum decision. Could this be connected in any way to the fact that there is no permanent building for our police? And you need that building, since it seems you are not at all interested in fighting in any way to maintain our building even under the county library system. Many of you on Town Council and the mayor didn't even know the library was open during COVID-19 with their specially created programs via Zoom for residents. We all know this pandemic has hit so many people. This library is not even going to be open physically anymore for people to apply for jobs. You may think if you have a car that you can pop down to the library and it will be a 10-minute ride. Having ridden buses on a 10-minute ride, it is not 10 minutes. We're talking 30 or 40 minutes one way by the time they make all their stops. You can look at the fact that it takes that long to even get to ShopRite for many people to do their shopping. As another person stated, I find it fascinating that you on Town Council and our mayor are rolling over so easily to those freeholders and passing this decision on to the residents without fighting at all for our library. Then you can just wipe your hands of the affair and say, well, the residents spoke. That is not part of your job description. You were voted in to represent the best of our town council or our town residents, those who may not have a vote, those who may not have a voice. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Morissette. I'd just like to elaborate on one thing. I did watch quite a few of their videos. I commented on them during budget time. I have a wife who's a librarian, and she put out a video a day for her library. So I compared her videos to our local libraries, and I actually spoke about them during budget time with Deb about the need for proper copyright when reading, how copyright was kind of adjusted during the COVID time. So I think I had a little bit more working knowledge than maybe most.
That's why I was very careful to say many on Town Council, because I do remember your support. But as of now, you are not supporting the residents, Mr. Piazza.
I would disagree. I think the residents are very educated in town, and I do thank you for your comments. Julia. Julia, you're unmuted.
Yeah.
Yes, there you are. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hello?
Hello? Name and address before you speak, sir? Or ma'am? Sorry.
Julia Billingsby, 8842 Rainforest Drive.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, I just wanted to say about what exactly is happening to the library, because it's very important for our children. As the United States, we are behind.
Julia, you're losing
in far more advanced.
Do you mind starting over with your comment or your thought? You were breaking up on us all. I'd like to give you the opportunity to, I think you got disconnected. I'm sorry. Okay. Lori Chesla?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Name and address, please.
Not sure if you're aware, but I was a county appointed member to the Phillipsburg Library Commission. And it was during that time when the contract was ending. So I know in 1990, we entered into that agreement in order for your library to provide services to the members of the county library system that didn't have a library nearby, and that would be Greenwich, Lopat, Pohat, all those towns. When they closed the Franklin branch and opened the Stewartsville branch, that then led the freeholders to say, okay, so now those sending districts that are paying county tax do have a library to go to, and that was the whole background for them leaving. And I know there was a lot going back and forth. I know Phillipsburg was trying to get the sending districts to leave the county library system and join yours to form some kind of group, but I don't think anybody really wanted to take that on at that point. Just reiterating that history because I think it's really important for you guys, if you do push this referendum through, just to make sure that everybody knows all the details, like the full cost of what it would be to stay and what it would be to leave. I do agree with a lot of people on here, transportation, that's an absolute must. There's no way this will work if you guys can't get there. But to go back to what Pat was saying, as long as you guys can articulate what you have to pay right now, and then what you would have to pay if you went to the county levy, just make sure that's very clear for your residents. I know there's a lot of love in your town for your library, so I don't envy you. But with the $375,000 that you owe, are you allowed to pay? You're allowed to pay that over 3 years?
I believe there's a 3-year agreement that was.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, am I correct in saying that 3 years?
You're absolutely correct, Council President. They were willing to take that over a 3-year period. And bring up again that the Federation money is completely gone now.
Okay, yeah. I do know when I was on there, it was about a half and half split. And I think the budget was about $1 million. So you guys were providing about $500,000 and the county was providing another half. So it's understandable that you guys are going to have to be increased, but I was just curious about the 375. All right. Just like I said, it's just important if you get those numbers out there so people can really take a look at them. I think that's very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Randy, did you get the address?
I don't think so.
For Vicky?
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Councilwoman. Lori, could you please provide your name and address, please?
Oh, sure. Sorry, 12 Meadowview Drive in Lopakong.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You just give me a second. Somebody is trying to get on who'd like to comment and they're having trouble. Okay. Joni?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Joan McCaffrey, 91 Hart Street in Phillipsburg.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Okay, here's my story. I moved to Phillipsburg 34 years ago, and when I had my children, we went to the library all of the time. They loved it. I loved it for them, and I still love the library. They're adults now, but I still use the library. I utilize the quiet room as I am a professional tutor, and sometimes I do need the peace and quiet. I use it to borrow books, DVDs. I've been using it for 34 and a half years, essentially. To close this library would be a huge, tremendous loss for this town. It just would be. It's like an asset that's invaluable. And I think that like others have said, the library is within walking distance from the high school. For many residents, there's a ton of resources at our fingertips. All of the librarians are just wonderful. I was on the Friends of the Library for a while, helping fundraise or whatever. And it's an asset. I'm really trying not to sound as angry as I feel about this. I really want to scream and say, don't do it. I'm really trying to remain calm, to be quite honest with you. I don't want it closed. I think it would be horrible. I just think it would be the biggest mistake ever in this town. And not to slur anyone with sports or, the sports programs in this town, but it seems to me that every time there's a sports issue, that, those things are passed and there's money for that. You need to save the library. You really, really, really do. Okay. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. I just want to reiterate, a vote today does not close the library. Even a vote on the second reading does not close the library. It gives its sole purpose is to give every person in town one vote, one voice. That's it. It's not 5 or 6 people making this decision. I just want to make sure that it's extremely clear that this leaves it up to the taxpayers of Phillipsburg to vote on this change in lifestyle, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Okay, right.
I didn't know exactly when you said closing the library. I just wanted you to make sure you didn't think that this vote, if it passes, and the next vote would mean the closure of the library. It certainly does not mean that.
Well, a lot of people might think that, and I really think too that there needs to be open and honest dialogue with what the tax impact will be for residents. It needs to be crystal clear. And no hidden agenda, and everything just be open and above board, because a lot of people are thinking it's closed. A lot of people thought it would be closed when the new one was built and opened.
Yeah, it definitely does not mean closure, this meeting at all. And between now and November, there is plenty of time if it does go past today's meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joni. I appreciate your comments. Let's see here, Pat.
I just wanted to have some clarity about what this $375,000 bill is that you owe back to the county. It's something I've never heard. It may be obviously under a contractual obligation, but I've never quite heard this. I understand certainly the original agreement that you had with Warren County for Phillipsburg to provide library services to Powhatan, Lopakon, those areas when I was growing up that did not have big populations. And certainly, as a library advocate, I thought that made a lot of sense because you weren't at that point building a new building. Now that you had one, it makes a different thing. But I guess I'm hearing different things about this $375,000, which seems to be a large burden on the library. So I'm just trying to understand what that is and under what circumstances that contract was made, just because it is something unusual for it, because it doesn't seem like it's tied to your tax rate. It seems like you were still getting it when they opened the new branch, and therefore you have to pay it back. I'm just trying to say clarity on that, Council President.
Sure. Now, Mr. Mayor, I think you, Mayor Tersigni, you touched on that briefly. Do you mind speaking to that? You had a meeting about that last week.
Had to do with the assets that the county has provided, and that's what the $375,000 is about. But I want to make it perfectly clear what the council president said. We're not closing the library. This is just a two readings, and going to be up to the voters to decide what is going to happen here, regardless of who's shaking their head and who is not shaking their head that I see on the screen. I believe this is exactly what it is. It's what it is. We are not closing the library, okay? And I can't be any more clearer than that. We will have the numbers in place exactly what they are, and as a financial person, it's myself in the past and present in the future, it will all be spelled out in a transparent manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I don't have a name for here. It's under iPhone. Can you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, I'm Stacia Palmer, 335 Washington Street.
Okay.
And I am the leader of the yarn crafts group at the library that we just started recently since my job made teaching there more difficult. I teach at the library now. I understand the county library has something that you had to go all the way to Belvedere for at first. And I think there may be something that is happening at the new branch in town, but it's done a little differently. It's been it's a nice group that, you know, you can come, you can work on what you want, you can learn something if you want. And they'd been wanting to have something like that for a very long time. And it'd be a shame for that to go away if this does end up going through. Because it's just a nice way to meet people. I've met more people through the Yarn Crafts group than I've met in the 14 years I've lived in this town. The library is a wonderful place. And again, the transportation that people have mentioned is going to be an issue. Unless you're running a trolley every half hour or every hour for these kids to get on to get to the county. And what's that going to cost us, the town, because they need constant, reliable transportation to be able to get there and to be able to get back. Are you going to be building shelters for the bus stops for rain and snow and heat? To have elderly and young children standing in that. I'm not sure exactly what else I want to say. I wasn't too prepared.
I'll say that if this does go through today, there will be a public comment on a second reading if this passes today. So, you know, if you have other items you'd like to comment on, you can do it then. If you don't feel you're completely prepared, that's understandable.
Yeah. I didn't know that I would be given a chance to speak. I just wanted to be in on the meeting, but then I realized, hey, I could say something. But I just feel it would be a great shame if we ended up closing our local library. And I myself would be willing to pay more in our taxes to support our local library, because it's definitely very necessary for the people in the town. It would be very detrimental to close that with the economic makeup of this town. But thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. I have one in front of you, Mr. Brisson. I did get you. I got you in the queue. Danielle, or I'm sorry, Jess.
Hi, not quite a Danielle.
Councilwoman DeGerolamo, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Jessica Bacho, I am at 314 South First Street in Lopakon. I am president of the Friends of the Phillipsburg Library, and I could go on and on about how much I love the library. I was a Phillipsburg resident, but I have a question. I forget who brought it up before, but with regard to the $375,000, I found in the minutes of the freeholders meeting held on August 10th, 2016, these minutes are accessible on the website for anybody to look at. Mr. Sarnosky at that time made a statement, and I have a question about this. So the minutes read, and this is Sarnosky speaking, approximately 4 weeks ago, I reached out to Council President Tersigni, asking him to facilitate discussion between the mayor and myself on how we can ease the burden on the town during this period. This is when, you know, the new branch was being built. The council president set up a meeting 3 weeks ago between himself, the mayor, and me to discuss how the county can ease out of Phillipsburg without causing an undue burden during the transition. Taking a cue from what I heard discussed at the last meeting by Mr. Gardner, I unilaterally began the discussion, and this is the important part here. I began the discussion by offering and agreeing to support changing the Federation agreement by not requiring the return of materials or like funds back to the county. This has the potential to save the town $350,000 in materials. Again, this modification would require approval of both boards, end quote. What happened with that? If Sarnosky at that time was willing to forgive this $350,000, I'm not quite sure why they're asking for that now.
I would just say that I don't know if it passed both boards. If he had an idea and it went before the boards, I can't say if it went before the boards or if it passed the boards.
And how would we find that information out, though?
I would ask the freeholders if it went that route. I believe that's the only way you can get that answer. I just know that we are now given an option to pay this money back. And what year did you say that occurred in?
Those minutes are from the freeholders meeting held on August 10th, 2016.
Okay. So 4 years ago. Yeah, I'm not sure what the status was going forward with that. I honestly could not honestly answer that. I just know what we're being charged.
Since is Mayor Tersigni allowed to comment on that since he was part of that discussion?
I am told as of we owe the money. We were not. I believe we were relieved of that money if we joined the county system. That's what the impression.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I just want you to know for the record also, everybody got the library, but I was there the day they opened that up in 1969. So I believe, like I said from the beginning of this meeting, it's not up to me or it's not up to the council to close. The library is not closing. This is simply a binding referendum, and it will all be spelled out financially what is at stake. And I believe our CFO and our professionals will put that out there, and it's going to be up to you to decide what's going on. Period. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Tersigni. Mr. Bisson, I believe you were waiting. Give me 1 second to unmute you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I had a prepared statement that I wanted to read, but I'm going to divert from that a little bit because of some things that were said. The $375,000, it was my understanding that there was a meeting maybe a year or so ago with the previous county CFO, Mr. Merlo, and the library director, at which it was determined that we would not have to pay back the money. I understand that there was no recording of that.
Who was that between? I'm sorry, I missed that.
My recollection is that it was the previous county CFO. This is a new one who's asking for the money. The library director and Bob Merlo.
Okay.
And that, so anyhow. So along with the comments from Jason Sarnosky that, those number of years ago, that meeting, one of the things that strikes me about this, it was stated that if we join the county library, they will forgive the $375,000. That sort of sounds like blackmail to me. I mean, I'm going to be blunt about that, but that's what it sounds like. They're using that to push us into this. So I don't think that's a good idea. One of the other things that bothers me is about this busing thing. We had an agreement with the county for the Federation where they were contributing to our library so that we would serve people in the surrounding districts. And people on the freeholder board changed. So at some point, they changed their mind. Who's to say that at some point down the road, they won't change their mind about this busing? You know, maybe they'll think it's too expensive. Maybe they'll withdraw it. I don't know. I do want to emphasize that the Phillipsburg Library has been around almost 100 years, opened up in 1923. The council, the mayor are talking about the possibility of closing this institution for our town that's been around almost 100 years. We need to keep in mind that the Phillipsburg Library is a full service library. The Southwest branch is just that. It's a branch. It's not a full service library. They're not going to be able to provide the same services that our current library provides. The town might save money by closing the library and joining the county system. Somebody said this before, it's not just about money. We wouldn't do away with support for youth sports to save money, I don't think. We wouldn't do away with school crossing guards to save money. The Phillipsburg Library provides convenient and easily accessible services to the residents of the town, including reference services, assistance with searching for jobs online, assistance with filling out online job applications, tax preparation assistance, genealogy services, access to many local historical documents, which hasn't been discussed. The Phillipsburg Area Historical Society stores its historical documents at the library. Library served our town for almost 100 years. Surely you won't give up on it now. Council members keep telling us that Phillipsburg is on the edge of a renaissance with new businesses coming to town.
Mr. Brisson, can you wrap it up real quick? Your time is up, sir.
Yes, I think it's important that the council and the mayor stand up for the library and not just fall back on putting it up for a referendum. I would also urge you to request a comparison of services between the Phillipsburg Library and the county library from our library director, Ms. Messling. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. That just about does the public comment. Going forward, I'd like to motion to, let me read the ordinance first. First reading, ordinance 2020-18, first reading, 07-27-2020, an ordinance of the town of Phillipsburg, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, directing that the question of whether the Phillipsburg Free Public Library should be dissolved and placed on the ballot of the general election. Okay, can I get a motion to approve, please? Let me make sure everybody is able to speak. Councilman, okay. Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Councilman McVey, motions. Can I get a second, please? I'll second it. Comment from council? Councilman Wyant?
It was my understanding at the previous meeting, council meeting, that this was going to be a non-binding referendum. Did that change somehow?
No, I believe we discussed binding.
It was my understanding was non-binding. Second, I think that we're really under the gun to try and get this thing on the ballot for this year. And I think that we're really not taking our time and trying to figure out how to get this done without closing the library, maybe working within our means, within the tax rate and tax cost.
Just driving home.
That
Sorry, it's like
is somebody talking over me or?
Yeah, somebody's background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am very torn, having spent 16 years on the library board as mayor. I think there's things that can be done. Once you lose the library, it's over. We'll never get it back. You'll never. What's going to happen to the assets of the library? I think that, I think the public needs to know what happens to all those assets. There's a lot of unknowns here, and that has to be put out to the public. I think that you're talking about the taxpayers, but the taxpayers may not be the ones that are deciding this. It may be just the residents and not totally the taxpayers. It's a difficult decision to make, but I would be remiss if I didn't allow the voters to decide. It's discouraging that that it's binding. That bothers me. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman DeGerolamo?
I echo a lot of what Councilman Wyant said. I'm a library fan. I've been a library fan. I think we need a local library. I just do. However, it is important. This is the taxpayer money. Just some of what I believe her name was Pat was asking, just to understand. So in Phillipsburg, our town library tax rate is 0.034. That's what we collect. So we take in $244,000 a year to operate our library. Our library costs almost $700,000 a year to operate. So that means the balance of it comes out of our general fund, of which nobody ever sees. So that's over $500,000, because it's more than that because of some federation money. So it's over $500,000 we're making up out of the general operating fund. So anything we have to pay out in addition, this $375,000, it's coming out of that as well. Honestly, my preference would have been to ask the taxpayers first if they would like to fully fund the town library rate at the rate it would cost to fully fund the library. That would have been my preferred way to go, but that's not what I was presented with. And I will tell you in full faith and honesty, I don't know how successful it would be, because that rate would go from 34.34 to 1.015 in order to do that. So we'd be asking the taxpayers to triple what we collect. Again, I don't know that that would be successful. The binding, non-binding, I concur with. If there was a way we could operate our local library at a lower cost that's within the range that we're collecting, I'd be much, 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 much happier. But we do have a responsibility as well to allow the taxpayers to be willing to absorb that. If the taxpayers vote to keep the library, fantastic. We have to figure out how to make that work. And we can. But those numbers as well, that $500,000 will come from somewhere, because I don't believe the taxpayers would agree to increasing the tax burden $500,000. But that's something we would have to do, and that's pretty significant. Again, just because I may vote yes to pass this to referendum doesn't mean I agree with dissolving the library in any way, shape, or form. It's simply a matter of giving the taxpayers, the voters, the flexibility to determine what that spend ratio looks like. It is a very, very difficult decision, because I am a firm believer we in the town of Phillipsburg need a public library. I will tell you, not as many people walk there as you think they might, because I can see the library from my front window. The biggest argument about transportation when the school district moved across the highway was that nobody's crossing that highway to come to the school. So the argument that people are crossing the highway to come to the library isn't that valid, in my opinion. And Governor Murphy indicating all the children are getting computers and laptops and free internet now takes away the need for all the children to come to the school as well, to the library after school. A lot of those resources, and that's a big need, but that need is apparently getting met per the governor's announcement last week through the school districts. They will be funding that through CARES Act money. So again, this is a hard one. I do believe we need to keep our local library, and again, how I would vote on it is completely separate conversation from allowing it to go out for referendum and allowing the voters to vote on it. So that's all I have, because I am way beyond my lunch hour right now. I am actually on an extended lunch as well. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Fulper.
Sure, Council President. You know, over the past 3 years of my tenure, I've consistently fought for the Phillipsburg Free Public Library, which has been both popular and unpopular at times, whether it be in the form of funds for the budget, funds for repairs, or simply just advocating for their services. To find out that we're here today is both a shock and quite disheartening, and it leaves us in a situation that is neither desirable nor in the best interest of this community. I still don't know how we found ourselves here, but the fact remains that we are here. You know, since discovering this information last week during our council meeting, I had began my due diligence to start investigating the matter. We do owe Warren County $375,163 and have owed them this as early as 2018, as referenced in an email chain beginning May 1st, 2018 through May 24th, 2018, which was between our county CFO and the town CFO. The following parties were either carbon copied or in receipt: Maureen Wilkinson, Donna Fleming, Deb Messling, Ed Smith, Jason Sarnowski, Rick Gardner, Robert Field, Stan Schreck, Stephen Ellis, and Sherry Corcoran. This conversation requested justification of the 30% rise in the town's library budget in 2018 and included the request for the monies owed to the county. It was acknowledged by then Mayor Stephen Ellis, but never brought before this council. Further looking back, the Warren County Freeholders did pass Resolution 34216 on June 22nd, 2016, terminating the Library Federation agreement between the county and the town of Phillipsburg, effective July 1st, 2018. It was then sent and received by the town of Phillipsburg on June 23rd, 2016. In that resolution, it clearly states the county would seek the transfer of collection materials or payment. This means that the town of Phillipsburg was aware of the debt. Mayor Tersigni stated for at least 2 years, but it was really known for over 4 years to the administration. It was brought to my attention in 2019, and when the subject was briefly broached with our mayor, I was told it was being taken care of. Since then, it was never brought before council from 2018, during my tenure, to now. Reading the minutes from the July 5th, 2016 Town of Phillipsburg Council meeting and the August 10th, 2016 Warren County Freeholders meeting, it's left me with more questions relating to the amount that the library's been provided, the agreement, what it was used on, and ultimately what truly led to the town of Phillipsburg down the path of such an enormous debt. Provided the several different scenarios today by CFO Merlo, I'm left with no choice but to vote yes of putting this to a referendum, because I believe it's the only fair decision to make. The people deserve the facts, and they deserve to know where their money's going. They deserve the right to decide how it's spent. I don't believe that it's fair to make the decision to just cut the county a check and expect our taxpaying community, many of whom can hardly make their payments right now due to the pandemic, to just foot the bill. I do think that we do need to fully inform our residents of every single scenario surrounding this decision. We need to be completely transparent throughout this entire process and leave politics out of it. The people of this town must completely understand the ramifications of this decision, because as the speaker stated earlier, there's no going back on this, and this decision is final. Quite frankly, again, I believe it's the only fair, responsible, and just action to allow them to decide, and that's our democracy at work. I have faith that the people in this town will make the right decision. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Council Vice President?
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I apologize for the background noise. I am driving and on Bluetooth. I honestly don't know where to begin. I will do my best to curb my emotional thoughts on this. I will say this. Thank you for everyone who was on this call today that came on and commented. Thank you, flat out, period. Thank you. We do have a lot of non-residents that commented, which would be a non-effect to them and where they live and their tax rates. But I still thank you. I appreciate that. But I have to look out for our constituents and our people in the town of Phillipsburg, which would greatly adverse the tax rate of our town if we move forward in keeping this, paying what we owe to the county. I haven't written anything down because I am driving, but I try to think in my head of everybody that commented on whether it's oh my goodness, everything that involved where we're going. It's okay. It's quite all right. But I want everyone to know, and you've heard me on calls before. I have disagreed openly and publicly with Mayor Tersigni on a few, or even I'll even say the word. In this case, Mayor Tersigni is 100% spot on. This is going to greatly adversely affect our budget. So this is to the people. We're leaving it to the people. And however that lies and however that rolls out, I am 100% behind that decision. Whether it's won by one vote or 10,000 or however you would, I don't care. I'm good with it, and we'll go with it, and we'll figure it out. But I'll tell you this: the transportation. I've been working with Freeholder Kern nonstop to get people, at least through Council President. We've talked earlier in the week, and you can confirm this. We have worked nonstop with the Freeholders Office of Warren County to get our residents of this town at pickups in Phillipsburg to the county library. You can't beat that. To my peers, to my other councilmen that say we want the library, but there's this. We're elected to make decisions. Please, I would encourage you to be firm on your decisions, like Councilman Fulper was. Be firm. We were elected to make decisions, not to ride fences or not to ride ridges. This is hard, of course it is. But I'll tell you what, if this comes up and it gets passed, please don't expect us to take a 10% pay cut like we did with, it was my proposal. The mayor, the council members, and everybody else. If it passes, no problem. But if we're going to incur a $700,000 budget, I'm good with that. But don't look to us to start cutting wages and this and that. The people will speak. The people have spoken, and we're good with that. But I will tell you this: we're working very hard with the Freeholders Office to ensure that every resident can get to that county library, which offers a magnificent features. And I'll leave you with this: if our Phillipsburg Freehold Library is all about the internet, what has been going on since it's been closed since March? How have we been keeping that service available? It's because people have internet at home, and that's what they've been doing. So I'm not quite sure if it's the same library. I'm 55 years old. And if anyone wants to contact me on what I say, my name's Frank McVey. My phone number is 908-797-7281. My personal email is frmcvey@gmail.com or fmcvey@phillipsburgnewjersey.org. Please contact me. I welcome it. I have no problem moving forward, but I will tell you this: I will be voting to support the county library moving forward in this referendum. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, sir. All right, so I do support this going on the ballot in November. The reason I feel that decision needs to be made is because of the financial ramifications. And it's a lifestyle change for the people of Phillipsburg. It's not just financial. This is a big decision. We are constantly being told that the 650 that is budgeted this year is not enough. $1 million would be better. On top of the bills that we are now required to pay, that is a huge undertaking for any of the taxpayers. I feel that they need a voice. This is democracy in its simplest form. One vote, one person. They'll tell us what they want. For 6 people to dictate how somebody's lifestyles should change this drastically in our town would be really unfair. I think everybody needs a voice. For anybody to say different, I think maybe they have ulterior motives. It doesn't get simpler than that. It is Democracy Day. It is a day that everybody can take pride in. Their voice actually means something. I often hear that their voice doesn't mean anything. Every single vote counts on that day, whether you're for it or against it. So please take this vote very seriously because it does have serious ramifications. I'm all for putting this into the hands of our voting public. They're educated. We will provide a lot more education on this subject. The library will as well, I'm sure. I welcome the opportunity to see whatever's put out. And whatever their decision is, we will make it 100%. I promise you that. So going forward, I'd like to have a roll call, Vicki.
Councilman Wyant,
Yes.
Councilwoman DeGerolamo,
Yes.
Councilman Fulper,
Yes.
Council Vice President McVey.
Let me unmute him. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, I apologize to everyone on this call because I am traveling and I don't want to hear the background noise of the car, but I am a yes. Thank you.
I think you said, yeah. Council Vice President, what was your vote?
Still muted.
Council Vice President, what was your vote? I'm sorry.
I am. Thank you. Thank you so much. No, I apologize because I constantly mute myself. So I'm traveling, but I am a yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council President Piazza.
As I stated before, I'm a solid yes. Okay, going forward, there is nothing left on the agenda. I'm going to move to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Your comments will not fall on deaf ears. And thanks again. The participation speaks volumes.